Welcome to Take It or Leave It.
Just out of nowhere.
Welcome to Take It or Leave It, where I, your average human, am skeptical about all the social media hearts and likes and forwards and saves, because there's too much crap out there that it's just confusing. I don't know what to do anymore, right? My name is Iris. This is my husband / trainer. This video is focused on beginner workouts. I really want a basis of like, okay, if I'm starting from scratch and I'm just gonna walk into the gym, like WTF, where do I start? I wanna know if we want to take or leave his advice.
If you're a beginner in the gym, I'm going to run you through exactly how I would train you. Make sure you save this video, it's going to be very important. For starters, you're going to want to train 2 to 3 times per week. And to begin with, I'd be doing a little bit of a full body program. So you're hitting a little bit of upper body stuff, you're hitting a little bit of legs. So by training multiple muscle groups on the same day, it means that the volume that you're actually using, drop me phone, one particular muscle group is going to be a little bit less, which means you won't be nearly as sore, which is great when you first start. Training your full body means you won't miss any major muscle groups too. You only have to do 5 or 6 different exercises, and I would usually put in definitely a bench press, squat, a chin up or a lat pull down, a lateral raise, and a bicep curl at some point in your program.
I don't know what you're gonna say. I just do the workouts, honestly. I don't know half the shit that's going on.
I don't know what I'm gonna say. I do.
I was like, you don't?
I like what he said about starting off with full body programs. Like you said, you hit all your major muscle groups. If you're working out 2 to 3 times a week, like he recommends, then you're hitting those major muscle groups multiple times, which is ideal for just the frequency with which we work our muscles and getting like better gains from that. So I love that. He's also already mentioned like 5 or 6 exercises. It's a really clean, easy way to start your workouts because it is truly just a handful of exercises for a few sets, rolling through all these different body parts, and then you're done. You do keep the volume low. Like he said, volume is like kind of the amount of work that you're doing, the amount of sets. And so that does help you be less sore when you're first starting out. So I think that just in general, that full body structure is a great place for people to start.
Let's talk about it. How sore do we want to be?
A little. I mean, if you're truly just starting, then you're gonna be pretty sore. Like that's just a byproduct. You shouldn't be so hammered that you like can't get out of bed the next day. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but we don't want it to dramatically affect your daily movement at any time. But at the beginning, you're gonna be sore. That's just part of the deal with getting started with strength training. But once you kind of settle in after a couple weeks, even just sometimes just a handful of workouts, we do want you to be sore occasionally. It's not going to be the best sign of progress, but if you're never sore ever, then you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. Now, if you're so sore all the time that it's just like ruining your life every time you go to sit down in the toilet after leg day, like you can barely get down, barely get back up.
Why has it got to be the toilet? Why not just a chair?
I don't know. Because most people plop down into chairs. They don't plop down onto toilets. If it's hard to get your legs up on the squatty potty, then you know that you worked too hard with your leg day. But yeah, if you're too sore to where normal daily movements are affected by the soreness, that's what we don't want regularly. We should be after our workout, like the day after, somewhere in between, like I'm not sore, but I can tell that I worked out yesterday. Like there's a little bit of fatigue there, all the way up to I'm a little bit sore, I can feel this, but it doesn't affect my movement.
So you kind of feel like a squeaky wheel, but it's not like, let's say, painful to get out of a chair.
Aim for about 12 reps for each set, which will take you into what's called a hypertrophy range of training. So you're aiming to build a little bit of muscle. Another key tip is making sure you write all the weights that you're lifting down every session. And each time you repeat that same workout, try to just increase it by a little bit, 1 kilo, 2 kilo, 5 kilos, and progressively overload your body. Just putting a little bit more in every time you do the same workout. Those are my top beginner tips. Make sure you save the video.
Good advice overall. 12 reps is fine. It's a hypertrophy range. It's not my favorite place to start people off because it is a lot of reps. And at the beginning, I would actually rather slow you down a little bit with those reps, with the tempo of those reps, and do less of them because I feel like that helps kind of grease the movement pattern a little bit and help people learn the form and the actual movement itself. He talks about progressive overload. He mentions one aspect of progressive overload, which is adding weight. And he's absolutely right about that. But you can also add reps. And that's the most common way that I do it, is the combination of the two, where once you find an initial good weight after you've kind of done the exercise for the first time, then work your way up in reps until you add like 2 or 3 reps to it. And then you can add weight. You can go back down to the weight, to the rep range where you started, and then again, keep working your way up. That's what we call double progression. When you start off at 12 reps, you're already, again, at a relatively high amount of reps where you're kind of flirting with that hypertrophy and endurance. And so I'd rather see you start lower to give yourself that wiggle room to, again, once you find a appropriately challenging weight for you, then you focus on adding reps for a couple weeks. Then once you feel confident that you've added enough reps, then you can go up in weight. And
so you're slowing down the rep itself to make sure that you have like actual controlling. You're not just like, I don't know, doing it like a brute, right? Like just doing it to do it or to get through it, right? It's full control, slow down type of, let's say curl, for example. It's not, this, it's slow and controlled. And if you could do more of them, then you probably need to go up on weight.
Mm-hmm. But I think what you said, where like you're doing the rep just to do it, is what I'll very commonly see with beginner trainees when they're doing those higher reps, because it does feel like a lot of reps. So then you're kind of just going through the motions.
What about those that do the rep count that you say, because it is lower, right? And I feel like oftentimes people feel, I don't know, you feel kind of like, just 8, that's it. And you kind of leave, I don't know, feeling like you didn't do enough, or like you didn't do anything really, right? Like unchallenged, I guess.
That's where intensity comes in. And so I think the first variable of intensity, because there's a bunch, but the first one that you should look at is, what weight are you using? Because if you're using an appropriately challenging weight, it doesn't matter how many reps you do, that set should feel hard. And so if you're not feeling like the set is hard, then you probably can do more weight.
What would you say for those who consistently stay at the same, weight, because they think that it's challenging enough? What's a way to figure out whether you should be progressing in weight and whether it's safe to or smart to?
Focus on the reps then. So like we talked about earlier, part of this double progression model of progressive overload, where you're trying to do more work to stimulate results. That's what progressive overload is getting your body to respond to you doing more work than you've done previously. And so then your body wants to adapt to that and get stronger and gain muscle. So it's a rep and or weight combination over time. So if you feel like the weight is hard enough, then fight to get one more rep. And so if you're doing 3 sets, you can fight for one more rep on all 3 of those sets. As you get more and more experienced, it's harder and harder to advance week in and week out. Some days you're gonna stay the same and you're gonna hit the same number of reps with the same number of weight, and that's okay. But the point is the intent to get that extra rep to start building up so that then you can add weight once you've added a couple of reps.
So take it or leave it. I feel like it's an obvious take it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the things that I brought up are a little bit nitpicky, a little bit just based off of my perspective of coaching hundreds of people in person, and just kind of what's practical and what I've noticed to be a little bit more optimal. But there's nothing wrong with what he describes. I didn't kind of bring up other things to critique him as much as say, hey, this is just my experience. So I think it's great advice. I think it's a great beginner workout.
Cool. Well, there you go. Well, that was it on Take It or Leave It. I feel a little less confused. Bye.